Welcome everybody. I have an exciting video planned for you guys. I want to share with you a tea that is absolutely amazing. It's filled full of antioxidants, filled full of anti-inflammatory constituents, filled full of beneficial pigments, and it's not only full of health benefits, but it's absolutely beautiful. And that is butterfly pea flower tea. Now, unfortunately, and this is what I was worried about. This camera doesn't really pick up right now the color of this, and this is a brilliant blue color. So what I'm going to do right now, you guys, is I'll show you guys a video overlay of what this stuff looks like in the light. But this light is so bright that it kind of masks the brilliant color of this. This is a deep, deep blue color, ladies and gentlemen, which you can kind of see in this pot right here. But what I have here, you guys, is I have butterfly pea flower and I have lemongrass. So butterfly pea flower, you guys, doesn't really have much flavor, but it does have a broad spectrum of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant constituents. And those who have watched my videos in the past, especially my videos here on Patreon about my health protocol, are aware of the fact that I use a pretty wide array of flowers. And I just noticed my mic is way over here. I use a handful of different flowers to remain healthy. Flowers are something that many people don't consume regularly, and flowers have a very uplifting effect on the consciousness. They have a very uplifting and grounding effect on the emotional body. At least that's been my own personal subjective experience, and a lot of people really do react very positively to flowers. Flowers, you guys, when you look at them, they're cheerful. They're they just make you happy. And when you consume edible flowers, it's my own theory that you transfer some of that uplifting energy into your system. And we can all use a little bit of happiness here in this world. So many people are stressed, so many people are depressed, so many people have emotional disturbances. So finding food groups that can help us adapt to stressful situations, can help us adapt to a stressful world, that is a very beneficial thing, you guys. So butterfly pea flower tea, aside from it having this brilliant color, is again full of antioxidants and anti-glycation components. And glycation, you guys, is basically it ages us rapidly, and when we eat excessive amounts of food, it causes something known as AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. And consuming foods that have anti-glycation effects is very beneficial. And there's a handful of different things that do this, aside from just this tea and things like carnosine. Different food groups as well have specifically or especially high, significantly high, let's put it that way, amounts of anti-glycation properties. But again, other than spirulina tea, you guys, other than tea made from spirulina, as well as something known as AFA blue-green algae, which is kind of similar to spirulina but different. AFA blue-green algae comes from Klamath Lake, Oregon, and it comes from this pristine area, this pristine body of water. And AFA blue-green algae, in my opinion, is much denser in nutritional components as compared to spirulina. But spirulina is a very beneficial thing to be consuming on a regular basis. It's full of amino acids, full of protein, full of beneficial pigments and whatnot. But aside from those two algae, it is very difficult to find things that are genuinely blue in the plant kingdom that we can consume. Blueberries are actually purple. Purple potatoes are actually are blue. They call them blue potatoes, but they're actually purple. So from my understanding, there are only about 3 things that could make a blue color that is genuinely organic that we can consume, and that is butterfly pea flower tea and spirulina tea and AFA blue-green algae tea. And I'm going to show you guys how to make the blue-green algae and spirulina potions in the near future. I've showed them in previous videos here on Patreon, but the videos are kind of scattered. In the recipe video that I did, it's like an hour long and it's in the middle of a long rant, so that's just not organized well enough. So I'm going to do a quick 5-minute how to make spirulina and blue-green algae tea video here in the near future. The problem is that spirulina, good quality spirulina, and especially good quality blue-green algae, the stuff is incredibly expensive. For good quality Klamath Lake AFA blue-green algae, it can be over $200 a pound, whereas I can get I think between 4 and 8 ounces of this for about $13. And this has a pretty interesting history to it, you guys. This is used in different parts of the world for its health benefits, and the color, you know, I'm a huge fan of different organic colors. When we consume colors that are natural, we extract certain components out of them. We extract pigments and different color compounds, and they get absorbed in the GI tract, and we assimilate them. If you look at the work of Dr. Gabriel Cousens, medical doctor, naturopathic doctor, and psychiatrist, he is a huge proponent of using colors to feed the chakra system. And I do believe that colors, organic colors, actually do feed the physiology in a very special way. I do believe that it feeds the energy centers of the human body. So blue, ladies and gentlemen, on the chakra spectrum is associated with the throat chakra, which is associated largely with communication. And, you know, things like red, for instance, like red hibiscus, which is a flower. Again, I use flowers a lot in my health protocol. I drink hibiscus. In hibiscus, one of the things that I've noticed is that if you make it strong enough and you consume it properly, it makes you feel very grounded. It makes you feel very close to the earth kingdom, especially if you consume the teas properly in a state of meditation, which I've always recommended. And I have a video about that here on the Patreon called Ritually Reprogramming Your Subconscious Mind with Tea. Go ahead and watch that video if you have time. If you haven't done so already, there's a lot of beneficial material in that video. But the chakra associated with grounding is on the Muladhara chakra, which is red, and the hibiscus makes me feel very grounded, makes me feel very close to the earth. So it's interesting. I've done so many different experiments with color, you guys. This is chamomile. This is another flower. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that color is so important for nutrition. You know, we focus heavily here in the West on macronutrients and micronutrients and phytonutrients. There's so much research and emphasis put on, you know, fat and sodium and protein and carbohydrates and antioxidants and things like that. But one of the things that is so often left out of the picture is colors and the health benefits of color. There is a reason why all of these things have different colors, ladies and gentlemen. This is an overall part of its nutritional potential, the color. The color is a reflection of the energy contained within the substance. So this is just absolutely incredible. I wish you guys could actually see the color of this stuff right now. This camera, I don't know what, I need to get a new light or something because it blocks out a lot of the light, but I will show you on screen what this stuff looks like. So again, I think a lot of really great research will be done in the future on the health benefits that are contained within the plant pigments and the colors contained within many of these flowers. I think that understanding the health benefits of flowers will become more of a commonplace thing. I think more and more research will be done on them in the near future. So it's exciting to me because a lot of people don't really put emphasis on flowers. And this is where I think my personal protocol differs from many other people's, is that I put a lot of emphasis on flowers and consuming them, as long as they're, you know, certain flowers you can't eat, certain flowers are poisonous, but there are a handful of edible flowers and flowers that can be made into teas. You know, I'm regularly consuming chamomile, and this is biodynamic heirloom chamomile, you guys. And I'll put a picture or a video overlay on the screen right now showing you guys this particular form of chamomile, because it is the best quality chamomile that I've ever had, other than the homegrown chamomile that my father grows in California. But chamomile, you guys, is very soothing to the GI tract. It's very calming to the mind, and it has a host of health benefits to it. these things that I consume flowers throughout the day while I'm fasting. I consume flower teas, and that's not the only thing I consume. Don't get me wrong. I'm still consuming Schisandra berry. I'm consuming things like reishi mushroom. I'm consuming extracts. But generally speaking, I'm consuming flowers multiple times throughout the week. It's part of my health protocol. It makes me feel better. I've found that the flowers induce states of optimism. So I went through a lot of stress in my life, you guys. I went through a lot of depression and horrible, crippling anxiety, to the point where, those of you guys who watch my YouTube channel, most of you guys probably know that at one point in my life, I was a severe alcoholic and I struggled with addiction and depression issues. And my depression issues were so bad when I was younger that I often tried to self-medicate. And I'm not blaming my immature decision to become an alcoholic on my depression, but I think one of the main reasons why I always reached for addictive substances is because they allowed me to kind of temporarily numb what I perceived as being depression. But it's depression's a very real thing. It took me a long time to realize that my depression was self-induced to a large extent due to my drug addictions and decisions I made from a dietary perspective for the majority of my life. There's a lot of things, you guys, that affect our emotional health. And just like the physical health can be tarnished and broken down over a period of time, so can the emotional health. And here's another thing that I find interesting. If you break down your physical health through eating bad foods, drinking bad water, or abusing yourself, or, like just draining your resources, your internal resources. If you break down the physical body, the emotional body and the mental stability has the affinity and potential to actually break down in segments over time with the physical body. So everything in this miraculous machine is intimately connected, and we need to remember that. And I think that understanding is going to make a huge breakthrough in Western health in the near future. The traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine and these different more natural ways of going about treating health from different parts of the world, they're more privy to the fact that everything is connected, that the mind and the body are one and the same. But the West is still kind of behind in that understanding. So there's a multitude of reasons why our emotional health and our mental health degrades. But in the West, it's oftentimes in unison with the degradation of the physical vehicle. If you destroy your liver, if you don't take good care of your liver and keep it clean and nourish it, it develops, toxicity. And if you have a toxic liver, the liver in Chinese medicine is directly associated with spring and happiness and clarity of mind. That's a very simple way of explaining it, but it's so, the traditional Chinese medicine system is so complicated. But to keep things in layman's terms, if you pollute your liver, you pollute your mind, you pollute your emotional field. That's why when so many people, after a lifetime of destroying their health with bad foods, when they start eating healthy, they start to feel better. And it's not just, the food made my mind feel better. No, the food helped your body get cleaner. And because your body got cleaner, you put less stress on your physical organs, and your mind mirrored that state of cleanliness. So the flowers I find nourishing, and I find them to be beneficial little assistants that we can use in a crazy toxic world. Are we having some glitching? It looks like the camera's lagging a little bit. So again, you guys, I'm going to make next month, this coming month, I'm going to make a dedicated video showing you guys exactly which flowers I not only drink, but the flowers that I actually eat. And you can actually grow certain flowers to eat. You can eat handfuls of them if they're safe. You can also put them on salads. You can put them on food. But I'm going to make a dedicated video showing you guys exactly what I do with these flowers. But, to kind of offshoot back to the mental health thing, Something that's kind of interesting that I think many people don't notice here in the West is, and this is kind of a personal thing, but not necessarily personal, but I think over exhaustion of the sexual faculties here in the West leads to massive degradation of the physical body and the health of the mind. And for those of you guys who are interested in Kundalini, you guys are probably already privy to this, that most secret societies that are, about raising the Kundalini, most occult orders that are fascinated with gnosis or higher enhancing consciousness, they use or they utilize something known as Brahmacharya. And Brahmacharya, ladies and gentlemen, is when you don't lose your sexual fluids. So the seminal fluids need to be withheld within the body. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that I'm completely against sexual activity, but I do think that there's way too much sexual activity. And to be completely honest, I think masturbation has become a very overdone thing. And, pornography did you guys know that the majority of internet traffic is for pornography? How sad. Pornography has become an addiction for so many different people, and it can be very enslaving, especially when masturbation is coupled with it. So, I want to talk about this because it's very important, because your seminal liquor, as author of the Yellow Book on Kundalini, it's called the Yellow Books. The author's name is Samael Anwar, one of the greatest authors on the subject of Kundalini and Gnosis. He called the seminal fluids the seminal liquor. It contains the vital constituents that actually activate the Kundalini, ladies and gentlemen. So the theory is that if you don't lose your sexual fluids and you hold on to them, you can accumulate the energy and actually move it up a channel called the Sushumna, which is a vital channel in the cerebral spinal system that the Kundalini actually moves up and enlivens the ganglia of the spine. So I will talk more about that in the near future, but what I can say is that accumulating those energies and then through meditation, moving them up the spine is a very real thing. Sexual abstinence is a huge part of many different religious orders and religions, and it's for a reason. It's not that these religions and secret societies and occult orders wanted to necessarily just control people. It's that there are certain laws that have to be abided by in order for certain causes to be met so that the effect can be, initiated. If that makes sense. Certain things have to be, with Kundalini, with anything in life, pretty much, there's always an effect to the cause, always a cause to the effect. So in many secret societies, it's required that you practice Brahmacharya, the abstinence of losing your sexual fluids. It's required because by doing that, you actually cultivate the cause that leads to the effect. And you think about it, the seminal fluids, actually, ladies and gentlemen, they have the potential to create life. And when you hold on to those things, or when you hold on to that energy, you accumulate that in your body. So I want to get away from that subject right now. We'll talk about that in the near future, but I do believe that that's a huge, compounding cause to a lot of emotional issues and depression. Again, I'm not saying that sex is bad, but it does lead to a lot of loss, so to speak, if you aren't wise with it. So Samael Anwar would always talk about having sex with your loved one, initiating or having intercourse, but not actually losing what he called your seed, your sexual fluids. You hold on to it. And we'll talk about that in the near future, ladies and gentlemen. But there's so many things we can do for our health. One of those things is consuming teas, and the flower teas are just very mineral dense. They're nutrient dense. Many of them have potent anti-inflammatory compounds. And what I've found to be a relative kind of, I've found that most of the flowers I've experimented with actually have a very calming effect on the mind. And I'm always very interested in things that can help calm the mind down, because we live in a world where our minds have been put into overdrive. There's all sorts of stimulation coming from every angle. We have obligations, we have partners, we have so many obligations in life, let's put it that way. And when you take on too many obligations, it can lead to a lot of stress. So having some tools available at your fingertips to help you mitigate and navigate through that stress can be a very beneficial thing. And that's why, everything that I've ever purchased for my health has been an investment, because these things actually give back to me. They help me adapt to stressful situations. They help me adapt to an unhealthy world. And that's a beautiful thing. They help me enhance my creativity and enhance my cognition. They help me with my memory. There's so many amazing herbs and things out there, ladies and gentlemen. There's so many things that can actually help you upgrade yourself, upgrade your life. Who wouldn't want to upgrade themselves? For instance, the mushroom known as lion's mane, ladies and gentlemen, actually helps you regenerate myelin within the nerve, the myelin sheath, the protective coating. Consuming lion's mane has been shown to be able to actually initiate a process within the brain known as neurogenesis, the proliferation and creation, the genesis, ladies and gentlemen, of new neurons. That is such an amazing discovery. That is longevity at its finest. Proliferation of new neurons means that you're becoming more alive, so to speak. As people age, they lose the basic building blocks of their brains. As you age, your brain actually gets smaller, ladies and gentlemen. You begin to lose the vital components that make your brain healthy. So putting things into your system, regenerating your body and your physiology, your nervous system with natural things that nature grows for us is a very wise thing to do, especially if you're young. If you're young and watching these videos, if you're young and here on Patreon with me, know that you're at an advantage. I wish I knew back when I was younger what I know now, because I would have changed so many things about my life. I made a lot of decisions that when I was younger that affected me later on in life, and I wish I could go back and blot those out or change them, transmute them, but I can't. So life is all about doing the best that you can with where you are at, where you're currently at. And if you're watching this video, you have the capability to change your health. You have the capability to turn your life around if it needs to be. And you also have the ability to make your life even better if you're at a point in your life where things are just great for you. You can always reach and strive for more, ladies and gentlemen. And having tools to do that is a beautiful thing. This is one of my favorite teas. This is the chamomile. And this is, again, I mentioned it earlier, but this is biodynamic heirloom chamomile. And this is like, if you drink typical organic chamomile, it usually has kind of a sedating quality and makes you feel kind of euphoric and makes you feel good and grounded. But if you drink this type of chamomile, it's completely different. It's amazing how important quality is over quantity when it comes to health food. I've consumed cheap herbs. I've consumed expensive herbs. I've consumed homegrown herbs, heirloom herbs, extracted herbs. And one thing that I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that quality is much more important than quantity. Because let's put it this way. You could have a pound of an herb like gynostemma, also known as jaugalon, which is known as longevity grass. It's a tonic herb. It's an amazing, amazing substance. Actually just posted a video on YouTube about that if you're interested in checking it out. But jaugalon, you could have a pound of that was grown in bad conditions, bad soil, fed with fluoridated water, you name it. Then you could have a fourth of a pound of organically grown biodynamic heirloom gynostemma. You could have 1/4 of a pound of that, and it could have more nutrition than 3 pounds of the cheap, non-beneficially grown gynostemma. So you have to remember that it's not always about, oh, I got a ton of this for cheap. You want to get nutrient-dense foods. That's what's important. Because having 5 pounds of something that doesn't even have the nutritional equivalence to something like a 1/4 of a pound of that same thing when it's grown in the right conditions, I think you can put 2 and 2 together. So plants uptake the components contained within water, and a plant's only as healthy as the soil that it's grown in, the air that it breathes, and the water that it drinks. So most of the soils here in the world are nutritionally depleted, or here in the United States, excuse me. And most of the water that being fed to these plants is garbage too. Water contains fluoride, fluorine, hexafluorosilicic acid, hydrofluorosilicic acid, fluorine compounds, chlorine, chloramine, algicides, cobalts, metals, radioactive components, disinfectant byproducts, and runoff. The water is an absolute joke, ladies and gentlemen. Water is the #1 assault on your system, and it's assaulting the natural environment as well. It's assaulting the foods that we eat. And that's why I like the Dragon Herbs Company. People ask me all the time, what companies do you recommend I buy my herbs from? Check out the Dragon Herbs Company. And they have great gynostemma, also known as Jaugalon, which I just talked about. But they also have some incredible chrysanthemum. And chrysanthemum is a flower, ladies and gentlemen. It's another flower that I use regularly. And in Asian cultures, chrysanthemum, millions of cups of it are consumed every year. And it's said that if you consume it every night before bed, you'll wake up refreshed, and over time it will actually enhance your memory. And I can attest to that. I do believe that that's true. It can help you get it can help you get better control over your own thinking processes as well. And that's one of the things that I find so interesting about the herbs and the flowers in the form of tea and things like this, is that if you consume them regularly, as long as they're safe to consume regularly, because not everything is, chances are if you consume these things properly in the right quantities and in the right quality, you'll begin to have more control over your own thinking processes and your mind. And that's essential to evolving as a human being. What you'll find, ladies and gentlemen, is that you create your own reality through your thoughts, especially your beliefs. Your thoughts formulate beliefs. You take information from your conscious mind through your senses and you funnel it into your subconscious data banks. And based on the accumulation of information coming in through your senses and certain factors, which we'll talk about in the near future, you formulate beliefs subconsciously, and those beliefs actually create your reality. What you'll find is that as you nourish yourself properly, you begin to regain dominion over your own thoughts and your beliefs. You'll also be able to, if you're strict enough with yourself and you practice the meditations, if you start practicing things like ritual magic, which is essentially just the art and science of learning to create a relationship with your subconscious mind so that you can change your reality. Check out my magic videos here on my Patreon page if you haven't already done so. Magic is essentially just the yoga of the West. Magic, there's so much garbage about what magic is. The truth about what magic is magic is just the art of you learning to take control over your mind again, because our minds have been polluted. We have illegitimate beliefs that are ruining our life through the law of attraction. We have to go in and analyze our thoughts and reformulate them so that we can attract things into our life that we want. And there are no limits to what you can have. And that's what magic is. It's the yoga of the West. It's the science of thought and mind and how it creates your reality. It's the science of the subconscious mind. But anyways, I got off point there, you guys. But what you'll find through nourishment is that, at least I've found this to be true, is that if you meditate enough and you silence your mind and listen to your thoughts and you put the right nutritional building blocks into your system, you'll start to notice how your mind has been designed to be kind of a self-defeating system. It's like there's a glitch, a virus in your thinking processes, and it's very easy to change it. But in order for you to change it, you have to acknowledge it and recognize it. And that's why one of the things that I recommend that to anyone when they're interested in becoming healthier, especially emotionally and mentally healthier, is you have to silence your mind and listen to your thoughts, listen to your emotions. See if you can, after this video, just take 5 minutes to try to completely empty your thoughts. Try to reach a state of thoughtlessness. This is known as a minimalistic meditation. I have videos about this on my Patreon page in my video archive under the health tab. But try to do that for 5 minutes. Try to silence your mind. Try to have no thoughts, and you will come into contact with the fact that you have a handful of different emotions and thoughts that are constantly swirling around your unconscious mind practically all day. And that's what meditation does. It allows you to silence the conscious mind and listen to the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind, the parts of our mind that we don't acknowledge while we're awake because we're stimulated by the senses, that's where the programs, the loops of negative thinking are constantly repeating themselves. We have to acknowledge the unconscious data banks and reprogram them. And once you acknowledge the unconscious data banks and you put in beneficial things, you'll find that throughout the day you feel great, you feel uplifted, you've got a pep in your walk because you've deleted those negative programs that are dragging you down. And many people have these, even people who think that they don't. All of us have room for growth. And for you to think that you may not have negativity in your unconscious mind, that's silly, because by default, living in this world and being surrounded by the programming, especially the television garbage and the sounds that they put into your mind and the messages that they put into your mind through the billboards and whatnot, there is some negativity there. We need to uplift our mind to a state of pure just bliss and happiness. And once that happens, certain avenues open up and certain doors close that were previously affecting us in a negative way. I hope that makes sense. So I'm all about mind power and physical power. We can affect our mind power, ladies and gentlemen, by taking care of our physical body. And we have a multitude of different tools that we can employ and use to upgrade our physical body. I choose to look at the physical body like a computer. It's full of hardware. You know, our heart is kind of like the motherboard. Our brain is like the hard drive, we could say. You know, you can look at a computer and kind of relate it metaphorically to the physical body. The physical body is it executes commands, but our consciousness is like the operating software. And a lot of us need a hardware update. We need to clean out our kind of like defragment our computer. We need to defragment our own physical body. We need to consume things to regenerate the liver. If we regenerate the liver, we upgrade so many different things in our physical body. Our hardware gets upgraded. And as the hardware gets upgraded, the software gets upgraded as well because it operates smoother now. There's so many things that you can derive benefit from if you look at things metaphorically. So if you look at your body like a physical computer and your mind is software, you can see how, just like a computer, the software is dependent upon the hardware to operate, and the hardware is dependent upon the software. They both work in unison. There's a fusion there. But right now we have kind of a schism between the two, and we're not communicating properly, the software and the hardware. And that's what real health is. Health is union between the software and the hardware. It's fusing spirit and body. And we do that through the Kundalini energy, enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. That is the highest state of health that we can achieve, is enlightenment. And there is a biological process that takes us there known as Kundalini. That's the only way to do it. The only way to achieve enlightenment is to regenerate the dormant aspects of our physiology and mind that are keeping our electrical systems from being at their highest capacity. Because right now, as a culture, ladies and gentlemen, we are like a cell phone. Ouch. Sit too long in this uncomfortable chair. It hurts my pelvic floor. But if you right now, as a culture, we're like a cell phone that's operating at 3% with the contrast on full, and we're just expecting to be able to, have 4 more hours on the phone. That thing's going to die soon. The battery's going to die out. You need to turn your phone on low and recharge that thing. These are all metaphors. But let me see there we go. Yeah, that's a little bit better, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that color. Goddamn. Excuse my language. Now, I put the lemongrass in here, you guys, because lemongrass tastes like bubblegum to me. And I used to love the taste of bubblegum. Bazooka Joe, I loved that gum. And the butterfly pea flower tea really doesn't have any flavor to it. It's very mild. So I spiked it with some lemongrass. Lemongrass has a handful of beneficial components. I'm really interested, if you haven't noticed already, in things that help calm the mind. I think that stress is one of the #1 killers here in this world because it causes so much excessive amounts of cortisol to move through your system and adrenaline, and those things make the body atrophy, ladies and gentlemen. So calming the mind is key. You achieving a state of peace is key, because without peace, you're not going to have your foundation. And if you don't have your foundation, you don't have your center. And your center is basically your ability to tap into the power of your intuition. And you do that through your internal compass. And that's being focused, being centered. And you need to be calm to be able to do that. In order to make beneficial decisions in life and choices, you need to be at a calm state where you're not acting on impulse based on stress. That's why I'm constantly flooding my body with beneficial compounds known as adaptogens. Adaptogens are plant compounds that help us adapt to stress. Adaptogen. So, anyways, you guys, I want to wrap this one up. I just wanted to talk about a few different things. I'm going to do some more videos on Brahmacharya and withholding the internal seed, not spilling the sexual fluids. And, you know, in many occult circles, this is known as spilling the cup of Hermes. Spilling the chalice. The chalice holds fluids. The body is supposed to hold on to these sexual fluids because these sexual fluids contain astral components and very nutritional components for the entire system. And they kind of like act as conduits for the electricity of Kundalini. So there's a reason why on every street corner, I mean, there's a reason why they say sex sells. They have pushed this shit down our throats so much since a young age that it's actually become a commonplace thing in our culture. We live in an over-sexualized culture. Billboards everywhere with naked women, pretty much half-naked women. I went to the mall not too long ago, and I was amazed because, you know, I used to go to the mall every once in a while, maybe once a month when I was younger, when I was in high school, go shopping, get some cologne, things like that. And when I was in high school, things were pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as they are now. And I recently went to the mall a few months ago, and I walked through the mall, and to see all of the posters and the, you know, of like half-naked women and men, and to see how sex does indeed sell, it's everywhere in our culture, especially the television. So they've put this stuff into our minds, and we as a culture have become very accustomed to it. You see, when Kundalini moves through our systems, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a secret that many people do not know. When Kundalini moves through our system authentically, when it actually enlightens the ganglia, when it actually moves through all of your nerves and enlightens your blood vessels, it causes something known as the full body orgasm. And what this is that you feel the sensual pleasure on every single surface and internal organ and bone in your body. You feel pleasure everywhere, not just your sexual organs. And this is sustained. This is known as nirvana or samadhi, enlightenment. This causes non-causal states of bliss, joy, and ecstasy and upliftment. We were designed to feel that good 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Why do you think the damn Buddha, excuse my language, could sit under a tree for 12 hours and be completely content? It's because he had pleasure moving through every single nerve and cell of his body. This is what we were designed to feel. And that's why the typical orgasm is a con, because it's only, we'll get into it in the near future. I was kind of hesitant even to talk about these things. At times I worry about how some of these things are going to be received, but I'm going to talk about it regardless because it is the truth. It is the truth that we were designed to feel bliss all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Most people have not a single clue how good they were designed to feel, because now many people have fibromyalgia. Now many people are stiffer than a pillar of salt with all the calcium that they drink in their tap water and all the stress that they've undergone in their life. You're corroding yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we exist in a world of sleeping gods and goddesses. You were designed to be a demigod and be one with Source. But somehow, some way along the road, the wrong people got all the power and manipulated everything and have turned the most amazing species, the human species, into a slave species of the most grand proportions, and not grand in a good way. Wow, have we been duped? Wow, have we been tricked? And wow, have we been conned, ladies and gentlemen? It's time to wake up. It's 2019. You have access to multitudes of tools at your fingertips to wake the hell up. Take advantage of the time that you have now that you may not have tomorrow. Always remember that input equals output. And the actions that you take today largely dictate the outcomes of tomorrow. We live in that type of reality where the things that you lay down today dictate what you receive tomorrow. That old quote, "You reap what you sow," is very true. This is why Saturn in occult circles is depicted with a scythe. Saturn is the slowest moving of the 7 traditional planets. It's the outermost planet. And Saturn comes around when you're born. Saturn is in a particular location, and it takes about 29 to 30 years for Saturn to get back to that exact location. That's how slow it moves. And that's why Saturn in occult circles represents the real becoming of an adult, because you reap what you sow. It takes 29 years for that planet to come back around to where it was when you were born. And that signifies that you've become an adult. You see, you don't turn an adult. You don't become an adult when you're 18. You don't become an adult when you're 21. You become an adult when you do the right things and you make decisions based on intelligence. When you start to do that, when that becomes your modus operandi, when that becomes what you do without having to think, oh, should I do this because it will lead you? Excuse me. You become an adult when you become a good human. I know so many people who think that they're grown-ups because they're 25, 30, 40 years old. I know 19-year-olds that are more mature than 50-year-olds. But in occult circles, 28 was the signifier of you becoming an adult if you passed Saturn's tests. And Saturn, ladies and gentlemen, astrologically speaking, puts you through a multitude of different tests by the time you're 29, 30, when Saturn comes around. It's called a Saturn ascension in astrological circles. It's also known as a Saturn return. And you can look that up, and I will talk about that more in the near future if you guys are interested in learning more about it. But that's what it's called, a Saturn return. And based on where your planets are in your birth chart when you're born, Saturn will teach you certain things depending upon that, or attempt to teach you. Oftentimes we ignore the lessons that Saturn tries to teach us. And if we ignore those lessons, once Saturn comes around the first time, it's going to go around again. So most people only have 2 Saturn returns in their life, because most people don't appear to make it to be over 90 years old. But some people do make it to a 3rd Saturn return. It takes about 30 years for Saturn to go around. And each time it does, it teaches you new things. Saturn is one of the most misunderstood planets, as well as the most respected in occult circles and secret societies. Saturn is amazing. It's my favorite planet. In magic, when I use ritual work, when I do planetary magic, I work with Saturn the most, because Saturn is all about teaching you restriction. It's about teaching you discipline. And that's something that's so important in life, because without discipline, you have nothing. Saturn teaches you boundaries. It teaches you your limitations and how to work with them so that you can achieve more. Saturn is not evil. Many people think Saturn's evil, especially in occult circles. So many people are misguided and just absolutely backwards. It's amazing how we've become so superstitious. Saturn's evil, bro. Saturn is devil worship. No, it's not. Saturn is an essential part of our cosmos. Without it, things would be out of balance. What the hell is wrong with people? We'll talk about planetary magic in the near future, you guys, because I have created a system of planetary magic that is most effective. Planetary magic, when you do planetary magic, you use the particular virtues of whichever planet you draw those energies into your life, and you use them to affect your psyche on the subconscious level. The planets are like filing cabinets of particular virtues and energies, and we will get into that. But I got a little bit more of the blue pea flower tea here, you guys. I wish that would show up on camera. It's so blue that it looks dark purple. Oh man, if you make this strong enough, it has a very delicate, beautiful taste to it. That's the only way I could describe it, is beautiful. It's kind of usually you use the word beautiful to define things or describe things that you're visually seeing, but because it's blue, it's beautiful. And the lemongrass really makes it taste amazing. But I'm going to wrap this one up, you guys. Expect more content in the next day or so. I have a lot of stuff I want to publish, but I'll probably only get around to publishing 1 or 2 more videos before the end of the month because I'm not going to have a lot of time to edit things, and I like to edit my videos and compress them. But until next time, peace be with you. Expect a lot of content next month. We're going to continue with the Learning the Magical Arts series next month. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about that, or for those of you who have been eager for the next video, expect that. Probably at least one. I'll do at least 1 lesson next month, maybe 2. Peace be with you. Thank you for watching. I hope that my channel and my messages, my passion, you name it, can inspire you today to take better care of your health. There's nothing more important than taking daily steps towards greater health. Health impacts every part of your life, ladies and gentlemen. Physical, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, you name it. It addresses every part of our lives. Health is indeed the divine foundation that we need to have so that we can achieve the life that we want. This is Lord Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, and I hope that the obstacles in your life, if you have them, can clear, and that you can attain your heart's desire. I do indeed hope that we can achieve a greater state of being here in this world. We weren't designed to have to deal with all this insanity here in this world, and I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that if we take greater steps towards our health and we envision a greater world, we can get closer to achieving that. So I just wanted to wrap this one up with a thank you, and until next time, peace be with you all.